Okay, we are on the back of the 4.11 intermediate algebra notes. We are trying to graph systems of inequalities where there's either an x or a y that's between two numbers, so it's like a double inequality, or inequalities and systems where there are three inequalities instead of just two. So we just want to give you a good idea of what these things look like because they would show up in like an Algebra 2 class. All right, so first off, if we have only an x and no y's in the whole problem, it is a VUX problem, a vertical line, or two vertical lines in this case because there's two numbers, and x is between those two numbers. Okay, so we are going to have two vertical lines, and whatever this number gets, if there's an equal sign, it's going to be a dashed line. If there's an equal sign, it's a solid line. If there's no equals, it's dashed. And same thing for this one. So these might be different line types, I guess. Okay, you end up shading between those two vertical lines because x is between these two numbers. Similarly here, we have y that's between two numbers. Since there's no x's in the whole problem, it's going to be a HOI problem. Okay, so you're going to end up shading between two horizontal lines. They might have the same style, like both solid or both, solid or dashed, or it could be one or the other. All right, let's take a look at example 8, and let's see this in action. So we've got x that is between -5 and 2. X is VUX, so we're going to have vertical lines, and x is going to be between those two things. So let's find x equals -5. That is here. -5 has an equals, so -5 is going to get a solid line. Okay. Second one, at +2. It is another vertical line, but it's x equals +2 this time. It's going to be a dashed line because there's no equals with 2. So dash that line. And then we are going to shade in between. Okay, that's because x is larger than -5, so it's all the stuff over here on the right, and x is less than 2, so it's all the stuff to the left of the red line. The overlap part is here in the center. Next one, y values this time. So these are HOI problems. Okay, y equals -4. So find -4 on the y-axis. It's going to be a dashed line, and it's horizontal. Okay, other one, y equals 1. So find 1. It is also dashed because no equals. I think that's the first time it's happened on this whole set of notes that the lines have the same style. All right, and then y is between these two numbers, so we shade in between those two lines. All right. Numbers 10 through 12, we have 3 different lines. So we're going to graph 3 different things. First one, x is less than 5. Okay, x-axis, find the 5, dashed line, and we're going to shade left. Okay, so that's over here, which is actually the whole graph. Just not to the right of that line. Next one, y is less than or equal to 1/2 x plus 1. So start at the 1, 1/2 is our slope. It is a solid line. Okay, and then since it's a less than, we're going to shade below. Normally, we would shade over here as well to get that white section and the yellow section, but it doesn't show up on our grid. Okay. So the overlap between the top two inequalities is right here. Let's see where that third inequality comes into play. I think I've got a green one as well. Okay. Okay, +4, -2 for the slope. This is a solid line because of the equals. Okay, and then we want y to be greater than or equal to that black line, so we're shading above the black line. So third marker, shading above the black line. Okay, we can see this lovely spot right in here where all of the shading overlaps, so that is our solution. Any point within this area is going to make all three of those inequalities true. All right, we got 4 inequalities on the next one. Okay, first one, y is less than or equal to -x + 4. So that is a -1x + 4. 4 is the y-intercept, -1 for the slope. Solid line. Here it is. Solid line. And we shade below. Okay, y is less than or equal to 3. So find 3 on the y-axis, equal sign, so solid line. We're shading below that. It says less than or equal to. So we've got this white section and this yellow section. So far over here is where the overlap is. Next one, y is greater than or equal to 0. So find 0 on the y-axis and then make a horizontal line for that. This is the only time you actually trace the axis as if the number is a 0. Okay, it said greater than or equal to, so we're shading above the black line.
Where do you want to go?
Okay, and then the last one on here is y is greater than or equal to -2x - 1. So -2 for our slope. Equal sign, so solid line. And then I'm going to use a pencil for this last one for the shading. Okay, it's a greater than, so we're shading above this last red line that I drew. So everything over here, some high quality shading. Okay, so this section right in here is between all 4 of those things. Right here is our solution. We got one more. Y is less than or equal to -3/2 x + 4. So +4, -3/2 for the slope. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Solid line because of the equals. And we are going below. Okay, next one, x is greater than or equal to 0. That is a Vux problem, vertical line at x equals 0. So find x equals 0, that is here. Vertical line through that. Okay, again, this is the only time we're tracing the axis is if the number is a 0. Greater than or equal to means we are shading to the right of a vertical line, which is here. And last one, y is greater than or equal to 0. So find y is 0, make a horizontal line because it was a y, and then we shade above for this last one, above the black line. Okay, the little triangle there in the center, right here is where all three of that shading overlaps this triangle. So all of our solutions are in that section.